Welcome to our lovely future humans and those who are of our 5D collective, Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness, inspiring human potential consciousness. So you're in your lovely ventral vagal state. We talked about our child parts and how they live through us and how we get to manage, master, and dissolve the charges. And so if you want, tune on into that one, 5D mystic mindset mentor, content creator, podcast host, and more. And right now I'm going to spotlight one last year's post for our 5D collective of channeled guidance, food for thought. Two, I got interviewed and I'm going to share with you some of the questions, not all of it, and then we're going to also continue potentially to chit chat about why spirituality and personal growth life are full of passion when being yourself, or how it works when we have honest conversations with real life stories like I'm doing right now of a mystic living out my own, as well as you can have it too, human higher self. And it's the best life of the higher self is your optimal, like always knowing how to be that which is a good car alarm that can then not get highly sensitive. Yeah, so excuse me, what is that? Yes, nothing important. And that was a distraction. But in our late IHP show last night, we talked about how enlightened ones know the timbre of truth in spirituality and science. So the calming nervous system, you know how to work your nervous system, and that's why you know how to work your prefrontal, and you don't talk sense to those who don't hear you or want wellness because they're not emotionally and or mentally intelligent or physically intelligent. And so they're not being their true self, they're an emotionally immature person. And that's why our child parts live through us, but we are managing, mastering, and dissolving, and therefore are grown up. We're in a prefrontal and we don't need to be reparented. Okay, so what stands in the way of us being who? Nothing. The 3-year-old is right here, the 1-year-old, and so with that, as Sadhguru shared a couple of things that I'm going to spotlight first on teaching. Teaching should not be a profession, he says. It must be a passion. Only then can education move from imposition of facts to exploration of truth. When you find those types of teachers, they are the ones who know that there is no greater teacher than life. And also this, that was Sadhguru, and another one from him. The significance of a teacher is not just to rattle off information, but to inspire and enhance each student as a human being. However, I'm going to go one step further and say a teacher and or a person who's trying to share information. I'm not a teacher, I don't want to be a teacher, but as a mentor, content creator, podcast host, who is woo-woo pseudoscience, remember, fucks up the data, forgets it, but who cares about you being you, I'm going to let you know that it is about me telling you some people have facts, some people have hypotheses, and some people are pseudo-intellectuals, and some people are selling to you their own little boxes. And when you hear, I know everything, and they're giving you utmost certainty, you got a fako in the room. Because there's a bazillion subject matter experts on a bazillion different subject matters, and spirituality and sciences come together. The timbre of truth is we know some things, we don't know all things, and things over time, they change. Why? Because there's no demons inside the body of anybody who has an embodied brain like I do and like you do. And those who don't want to hear it don't like to hear that they lack the education for the word evil, and they really can stop using it from philosophical and religious textbook, because we have a forensic criminologist who has a scale, and those people all need a good therapist. So when someone's innocence was broken and another, we don't blame a monster that was used in a time that was no longer or is no longer for some of us. For others, it's still their time. Okay, so 5D collective, Christ consciousness. Do you want to know what we find on AI overview on Google? It is a spiritual concept describing an elevated state of awareness, unity, and divine connection that embodies qualities like unconditional love, compassion, and wisdom, similar to the enlightenment Jesus Christ achieved. Yes, it's called, thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, you own the sense of self. Your default mode network, habitual brain, is downregulated like mine is. You will be able to self-regulate consistently, be accountable, and consistently move into resilience with that which is the ventral vagal state, and consistently move into more of the restorative embodiment. And then consistently as a mystic and spiritual one, I was 20 when I said, hey, God, no Lucifer, just cowards. You keep moving forward because your oversoul, whether twin flames, mystic, it doesn't matter who. There's no energy vampires, dark auras, or anything that can get you, because as a mystic and as 5D mystic, Christ consciousness, there's no demons or monsters. Once I became expanded to clairs by the time I was in my late 20s, because 25-ish is when things began to unravel and my chakras began to do what they do, and then 27 is when the lovely twin flame 1 came into the mix. Then we got twin flame 2, then we got twin flame 3, then we got, whoop, there it is, a lot more. And attachment trauma education informed me of what I'm dealing with every time ascension energies come about. So if you have emotionally mature people, awesome, you're going to be able to have a really great time with those who are of a 5D collective. When you're going to get 4D 3D, you're going to have an awesome time because you're a 5D person. So in this case, you don't have an issue with any of those who are immature, because it's not their fault that their innocence was taken away from them. Their faith in humanity was broken. They are the ones who don't know how to raise their frequency. They're also the ones who don't notice that they are only telling a story with one group and not another group, and that they have likes and dislikes, while we know, as my 1-year-old and 3-year-old knows, yeah, I have things I like and don't like. So with that, let's move into spotlighting a couple of things. The messages that are recurring from last year to this year. So one moment, hold on as I get it. Okay. The feminine, empowered feminine, when it's in your ventral vagal state. Okay, and I use words and change it up, but the feminine knows the way of the heart. And so when you are able to be connected to your body, not protected in survival mode, you have empowered feminine and you have flow and all that awesome stuff, because your heart is open. And even if you're sad, you know it's not broken, and you manage, master, and dissolve. And that's meaning it comes up and you have a functional child-adult conversation. The masculine, empowered, is the integrated brain, bilateral, vertical, overall. So what comes up doesn't go back down. And as Peter Levine would point out, you'll contain sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings, or affects and meaning, affects, behaviors, and meanings. And now we have a person who is able to have an honest conversation with themselves and with you. So we have what Terry Rue would say, functional adult, subjectively, objectively aware that when I get upset, I have anger, fear, sadness, disgust, surprise, happiness. And as Patrick Tian would point out, passives through you, but you're now an inner adult, so nobody is your savior. You don't need a teacher. You look to those who educate you, and then you notice their timber, and then you'll enjoy, and if they use the word teacher, you'll enjoy the real ones, versus the ones who are actually enjoying their position because with their gut, they're insecure and they want to have what is basically, Pinocchio with the puppeteer master. Okay, so whenever you meet the people who are still their adaptive child part version, they are just the Peter Pan of the Lost Boys. But you'll see that Lost Boys who stay Lost Boys follow Peter Pan and their Wendy's, and they bow down to them. Like the teenagers I saw who looked up to each other, and I said, I was stupid, but not like you are all being at this point. I forgave myself. I asked forgiveness to God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and I said yes. And that's why once I was 20 personally, I was like, okay, no monster, no Lucifer. And then I kept seeing that that's exactly the case. And the innocent ones whose innocence got broken, again, there's reasons, and I have solutions. It's good therapists, which all will go to jails and all that great stuff. So it'll be good. It'll be fine. The future is going to be safe because, humans, we evolve, we expand. And although some places are thinking science is bad and they're really going backwards, I'm going to leave that one alone, because we have people who don't take their children to hospitals. We have people who teach about the Adam and Eve and not, that we are humans and that we don't need the ancient stories, because it's not against what Jesus said. The kingdom of God is within you. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Again, God also, I'm perfect, don't copy me, stuff like that. So the ones who are owning cloaks and dressing up, and of a time that is no longer, they're the ignorant ones who continue to hang around more ignorant ones. So we don't hang around mediocre, ignorant people. They will think very much of us. You remember when Elvis came into the mix and they cut his legs off? Yes, because they thought it was very much. So that's what they think of those of us of the 5D collective. Personally, I can understand it, because when I go and watch what dancing they are doing now, I'm just like, I am an old fart. I really don't like it, but I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to know as a polyamory woman that I get judged all the time and that I'm not a masochist. And there's this beautiful thing called a polyfidelity vessel. For those who are serious, we know that some people, well, they don't know amore. Amore means that I can commit because I am a person who is securely attached. So monoamory or polyamory, I'm going to let you know my opinion is you don't know amore if you are not able to commit to yourself, first of all, because how am I going to live a long life? I would make you worried sick every day, every night. Like, that's not love. That's really not nice. That's my 0-1-year-old and my 3 to 7-year-old. Like, if there's one thing that my mind goes to is physical safety. And then I'm like, okay, self-agency. You can do whatever you want in life. Bonding, that's pretty straightforward, because bonding, it means that, you just bond. But that's because I know Maria. So you know who you are when you know how you rule. And so, yes, physical safety, number one. Then it's you do you, I do me. And then, of course, we're bonding. This is great. Very straightforward. And when you meet the ones who are not securely attached, that's what they, you're not poly enough. Wow, that's not nice. Ew, polygamy. Wow, okay, again. Polyamory, you're all masochist. No, not really. But you said you're polyamory. I can be in your vessel. No, that's not how it works. You can't. This is none of your business, not your business either. It's personal. It's my personal business. There are things that are personal. Yes, some of us are private like that. And that's because we really don't need to tell you everything. I know I share a lot about Maria, but that's because that way you get to know me. But my point is that we don't take offense. So I've laughed a lot of times about people who don't know what polyamory is or anything of, anyways, they could buy the book if they wanted to. They don't have to. So as I continue, let me spotlight the messages for our lovely 5D. As I said, the feminine knows the way of the heart and the masculine knows the way of the mind, and together life is created. So when you're an empowered feminine, empowered masculine, you have the body, mind, the self, you own it, okay? And you have the securely attached, non-traumatized person. So you can manage, master, and dissolve charges, and you want that. And so you enjoy emotional regulation skills, if that was not clear, which is why you don't say, I want it to be a world where it's not about what feels right, what is right. You say, I know that I'm full of fields, and I keep working to ensure that I'm a woman or a man, or it doesn't matter. I got feelings, and they're always that you're in love with me. No, they always come up. Okay, so that's why we're giggling. And it is the little things that count. So feminine and masculine harmony come with that, which is a harmonization and putting your first house in order. Food for thought, channeled guidance. Again, so just take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and it's a stream of consciousness that is for those who are living their best life as human beings, who are restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, with all your child parts asleep, and whenever they come up, you know that you're enjoying, mastering, and bringing forth the best version of you, which is your prefrontal cortex, as a functioning child adult. And you do all of humanity a favor, because in your ventral vagal state, as Dr. Daniel Siegel presents, with our integration, we're gifting to humanity the birthright that is of everyone, and we honor Jesus and Buddha. And Buddha have a thing, I make fun of him for sitting under a tree, but we know Buddha's stuff helps ventral vagal portfolio toning exercises and mindfulness and meditation offer the integration part. But the key is that you choose that you're worth it. And that's why you dissolve that which is something that comes from your past, but you know it lives through you, which is why those of us who are empowered don't go pointing fingers when maladaptive patterns of behavior, inner critic, outer critic, drinking, drugging, fucking, when things go wrong and it gets sloppy, because we know Dr. Daniel Fox informs us of how hard it is for borderline personality disorder, narcissism personality disorder, Dr. Daniel Siegel for the biological paradox of disorganized attachment and dissociative disorder, Bethany Brown and Ruth Lanius for dissociative disorder. It is very hard for those who come with the unluckiness to get on their feet and to continuously move forth in their health, which is why I admire you, Kylie. Kylie, who never watches my videos probably, she's a healing narcissist. She's in remission with borderline, and all of those people need to go opening up YouTube channels because they are doing something really hard that their body is consistently and their mind voicing day in and day out. a lot of nasty things. Mine doesn't. I just know God and goodness and love and my twin, and I have a happy world. It's a small world. That's what Maria has. It's rainbows and sunshines, which is why when Rocky tells us life hits you hard, I'm like, look, it's empowering, but not really. Don't offend God. He don't hit me. He nudges me, and I'm very, very, very aware of the nudges. As I'm a scaredy cat, not of Lucifer, there is none, but actually of physically wanting to live. So, this is the part. I get motivated to make sure that I want to live a long life. So, and I'm not afraid of being afraid. I'm not afraid of me. I'm okay with being afraid, but I do like to harness my body. And so it's good that the panic attacks have given me practice. Do I like? No. No, they're all the one part about light body, rainbow body is when these things took place. They're the most uncomfortable part of your expansion of journey. But thanks to Nutshell Lady, Therapy Nutshell, I found out what was going on, besides Schumann resonance, all that. And I was like, okay. And then another course on the energy body. So those two helped me to go, okay, and then continuing with my blood work and all that. So it's all good. Putting your first house in order so that you may reap the benefits of your second and eighth house with the ability to put down roots involve the alliance of your feminine and masculine journey, the empowered version of you, to inner and outer harmony as a person who can be yourself with your sense of self owned by you, like I own mine. Your crown, third eye, and heart chakra have all been activated and upgraded to begin the next step of your journey. Functional inner child adult love language is your chosen modality of communication, transformation in moments of darkness unknown. Don't dysregulate you. That's our ninth chakra and eighth chakra as we continue to expand, and that's because you are a whole self with the secure attachment, the integration of the brain, and the restorative embodiment. So you are able to have a window welcome to your emotions. The mindful and spiritual person lives self-awareness, accountability, and regulation through the wisdom of the body, heart, mind, a whole self, again, and that functions through your unconsciously loving of the flaws and the imperfections. And of course, again, the charges come up. They're not dead. You will have your child self with you throughout your life. And as you vibe in our lovely Christ consciousness and love frequency, you're able to consistently expand to that which is authenticity and hang out with more of us. So the 5D collective learns how to wield the ascension energies with that which is expanding your spiritual and personal growth. And so you continue to put into practice habits that allow you to embody pure consciousness, unconditional love, so your prefrontal. Pure energy, so the whole 3-year-old heart of you, and you understand that we're all different, so you can sad, mad, afraid with those who are empowered like you, and that we're all imperfect and flawed. We don't do shame, blame, fault, revenge. We don't do adaptive child or maladaptive child patterns of behaviors. We don't do shame cycles or go pointing fingers. And we know that the good therapists are there to help the people who want to get their own inner child alive and to come join us to have a good time with us. And so with a sense of self, love, life, and you know how to commit. And that's why our empowered masculines and feminines, they're amazing. And with that, as I spotlight only one part of this lovely interview that I will link to in our community page, if you want to read it, you can. You don't have to. I answered a number of different questions, and one of which was, maybe we can discuss some of your foundational philosophies and views. How do you differentiate between fads and real foundational shifts? And I say real foundational shifts last the test of time because they create abundance and sustainability in the real world long term, and for many, not just for a few people or groups. A fad, on the other hand, is something that comes and goes, and that a person only does superficially, like our trending people out there. A person partakes in a fad because it is popular and being talked about, like attachment trauma, mindfulness meditation, the mystic stuff, intuitiveness, okay, all the 3D, 4D people. And they're therefore doing it because it's popular, talked about like teenagers, but not because it's embodied or brought forth throughout their lifetime in any significant way, which is why they're the teachers that don't have the passion, who don't know what it is to be an actual, again, teacher. And that life, it's not about life in this vague way. It's that I can be a human being who's in my prefrontal. The timbre of truth is I know some things, I don't know all things, and therefore the people who want that will know common sense. Science, spirituality, again, coming together. A real foundation, I'm adding, this is not part of the interview, I'm just adding what we're talking about. So, a real foundational shift plays out thoroughly throughout society, both on an individual scale and a collective one. For example, the use of mindfulness and mindset practices for restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, and regulating people who pursue resilience, integration of the brain, and anchor in ventral energy. The practices, they optimize wellness on a mental, emotional, physical level for people's lives and their entire communities. Whether you believe in mindfulness and mindset practices working or not, they have become a foundational shift due to the benefits individuals and the collective are finding with them worldwide. And so that is where, even with the whole people wanting to judge other people, stop judging people who have not been able to go to therapy for one reason or another, and make your choice. Are you going to be that which manages, masters, and dissolves all of those charges and becomes the best version of you, which is a prefrontal cortex? Or, you don't have to, obviously. And one last question: could you give everything your best, even if no one ever praised you for it? I said, yes, I could give everything my best, even if no one ever praised me for it, because what I'm trying to do is leave behind what will stand as an example of how to keep moving forward in life with your best foot forward, no matter what. It's important to lead by example for the children and the teenagers and the adults, even though teenagers, I consider them children, so I just put children and adults because they don't have the grown-up brain yet, and they need to understand that if they want to. It's important to show the world how we can choose to bring out the best in ourselves without the praises of others. That's why you're an emotionally mature person, and mentally and physically. You own the sense of self. It's a job that you will do with honor and with happiness, and then you'll continue. To show how we can choose to want to leave the world behind a little bit better than how we found it when we came in. Also showing how we can treat each other with respect, live life to its fullest with fulfillment and fullest potential, and how we can keep integrity and love intact. Giving everything your best shows that we can become emotionally mature, for example, without ever meeting an emotionally mature person who has ethical boundaries, healthy self-worth, and is self-empowered, loving, and accepts that not everyone will like them. As at the end of the day, what happens, besides the lack of wholeness for those who unfortunately had a bad start, is they don't know how to handle rejection. I do. I got rejected at 4. And I still can be rejected, and it's okay. All you need is love. Boom, boom, boom. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. But that's not true, because you have to choose it for you. And I can't make you delight in yourself. And so, with that being said, inspiring human potential. It's really fun. Why spirituality and personal growth life are full of passion when being yourself? Because you get to actually bring forth all your child parts, and then emotionally, mentally, and physically mature, and have the depths of you being shared with 1 person and 2 and 3 and 4. And angels, they walk amongst us, and they're all with love. And the fearful ones, if they don't want to move into love, they have 3D, 4D they can hang out with. And then there's also more. So we'll be back with more, maybe a late HP show. We'll find out. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by.